Habakkuk 1:5. Behold, ye among the heathen, and regard, and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days which ye will not believe, though it be told you. Among the heathen speaks to those who find themselves surrounded by the unaligned frequencies of the 12-base matrix. Wonder marvelously is the awe of witnessing your own reality reverse its gradient in real time. The work worked in your days, which ye will not believe, though it be told you, is the mechanical inversion of Earth's toroidal breath and the 12,960-year black hole inhalation flipping into a 12,960-year white hole exhalation. Marvelously, marking the new age of Aquarius. The double slit experiment demonstrates that a quantum system holds every available path as pure potential, a wave of superposed possibility, until an act of observation forces it to resolve into one fixed actual outcome. Measurement does not only record the result, it participates in producing it. For 9 years, the dates, the frequency, the gematria, the astrology, the astronomy, astrophysics, etymology, held as scattered potential, each piece real and present but uncollapsed, unmapped to any single coherent pattern. Tracing every coordinate, the strike of 2017, the reconnection of 2022, the astrophysical breath of God, the threefold chord, the ark's dimensions, the patriarchal planetary gears, the mark of the beast, the etymology, scripture, and celestial alignments into one continuous comprehended architecture is itself a measurement. It is the observation that collapses the wave. The strike, the reconnection, the charge, the discharge, fired regardless of whether anyone understood them as one circuit. The understanding is the same act the double slit describes, potential resolving into the actual the instant it is fully seen. Among the oldest recorded stories of dying and rising is the myth of Osiris. The Duat, the underworld, is the centripetal black hole, Osiris's death and descent into it. Seth, the 12-base loop, scatters his body across the waters. Set scatters the body because the closed loop cannot hold a unified frequency intact. It fractures what enters into it pieces small enough to cycle. This is the fall. The Egyptian mystery schools guarded this descent in the Djed pillar ritual. Isis and Nephthys recover every piece but one. Nephthys guards the hidden threshold the reconstruction must pass through. Isis gathers and rebuilds. The phallus is swallowed by a fish, taken down into the depth with the strike itself, into the waters of the Vesica, the almond field where the two circles overlap into one womb. Isis does not recover it. She fashions a replacement. This piece is given from outside the closed loop. It does not return with the strike. It returns when the wave itself returns. Isis's inserted piece is a real mechanism in physical chemistry called nucleation, a foreign seed supplied from outside a system that cannot reorganize on its own. A nucleation seed is never the same substance as what it organizes. Water can remain liquid far below its freezing point, holding the full pressure to become ice and stay suspended indefinitely without a foreign site to crystallize around. The pressure alone does not act. It needs a seed foreign enough to organize around. Carl Rovelli's Planck star hypothesis proposes the same structure governs the black hole itself. Collapsing matter compressed to the smallest physical, meaningful scale generates its own internal quantum pressure, already present and building across the full 12,960 years, powerful enough to eventually halt the collapse and reverse it. The pressure was always there. It could not fire alone. Isis's peace is that seed, mythically. Mechanically, the seed is the two witnesses themselves. A single charged plate is only more of the same undifferentiated field. It cannot organize anything. It is the meeting of two distinct polarities, anode and cathode, converging into one structure at the arc that creates something categorically foreign to the surrounding field, exactly what a nucleation seed requires. The pressure was always building. The witnesses are what finally gives it somewhere to fire. Osiris's death is the black hole inhalation of the last 12,960 years. Horus, born from the reconstruction, rising as the electric sun, is the white hole exhalation of the next 12,960 years. The inserted piece gives the current a path back to source. The Jed pillar, the central axis spine of the torus, is raised, carrying the current from the vessel through the same axis it entered, the tropical gap, back to the central vortex of creation. This is the work that has been worked in your days. Will you not believe it, though it be told you? The strike descending, the vessel rising, the charge accumulating, the discharge that alters the loop of toiling under the sun into a superconductive kingdom of heaven on earth. August 21st, 2017, the Great American Eclipse, a new moon, the conception, Mars in Cancer. 16 days later, 16 days does not mirror the path of conception to birth. On September 6th, 2017, the 2.5-day Southern Hemisphere spring, Vesica piscis, is the first VAV. The vertical axis pierces the horizontal plane. Mars is in Virgo. The wound is opened. Ada, Lamech's first wife, is the projective anode. The first witness experiences this delivery of the Christ event, the only begotten Son, experiencing a claustrum tear. In the south, the terrestrial anode, receiving the beginning of this descending wave, while the terrestrial cathode anchors the tail end of the wave in the north, receiving the spark in the sacrum. Revelation 13:14. The beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. The wound by a sword is this strike, the vertical axis piercing the closed loop's horizontal plane to deliver the light of Christ from God above to the world below. Did live names the mechanical fact that a wound alone does not collapse a system already at full structural integrity. The 12-base matrix continues turning, wounded but running, because the terrestrial cathode has not yet risen to complete the circuit and the charge has not yet built to force the cancellation of the 9 of the 666 beast with the 9 of the light body of man. The full moon sits in Pisces on September 6th, 7th, and 8th. A half day plus 2 full days, exactly 2.5 days of stillness and equilibrium. The Word of God, the geometry of the cube, and the sun, the current that animates it, is the alpha descending into the bed. The Father's potential, his only begotten Son, is given to the world out of love. And this marks the beautiful beginning of the 9-year gestation of the light body of man. Mem, Aleph, Nun. The second witness anchors the strike in the north, the terrestrial cathode, receiving and grounding the charge the first witness receives. The two coordinates are bound in quantum entanglement, forming the complete physical dual witness chiral mirror across the Earth's own dual hemisphere torus. The 44.4 degree coordinate, the Delet door, is the spatial lock of Neptune's own frequency, grounding the reconnection of heaven and earth. The full moon reached its exact crest at 7:03. 3:03 in the morning local time for the northern coordinate. At the southern coordinate, the same local reading of 3:03 in the morning came roughly 16 hours before the moon's crest, which fell that evening. The north grounded the wave at its peak in the sacrum. The south grounded its leading edge in the claustrum. The conception to first breath spans 9 years, August 21st, 2017 to September 6th, 2026, is the full gestation of the light body of man carried to term. September 9th, 3 days after September 6th, is when Jupiter exits Virgo. Jupiter entered Virgo on November 20th, 2016, departing just 3 days after the first Vav. The king in the sky, Jupiter, is born on this day from between the legs of Virgo. This opening is the beginning of the 9-year gestation of the light body of man. 17 days from September 6th, on September 23rd, 2017, the sky repeats the configuration recorded near 3 BC. The sun in Virgo, the moon at her feet, 12 stars crowning her head. This is what the positions of the sun, moon, and stars were on that exact date. Daylight held it from the eye, but the full and complete configuration was sitting behind the glare of the sun on this date and not on September 6th, 2017. 17 days from September 6th encodes the 17th gate. The sign is the woman, which is the body, the vessel. Clothed with the sun is the light body, the light of Christ, risen within the vessel. The moon beneath her feet is the mastery of the biological rhythm, and she is standing on the moon in Pisces, or the ending of the age of Pisces. This sign signifies the coming birth of a frequency available to the whole of mankind, the light body of man, the reconnection of anode and cathode to source for all of mankind to be physically reconnected to heaven above. It is not a sign for one man alone or one event alone. It is the coming of a new time, a new age, and a new way for all of mankind. The crown, the 12 fixed points closing a circle into countable geometry, is the circle squared, the 13th frequency raised above the head. It is no longer enclosing the body in a closed loop. It is above the vessel and worn as a crown. The anode builds 1,260 days plus a 75-day solar horizon to a 1,335-day blessing on May 3rd, 2021. The cathode is connected to this event in the field, being guided and stabilizing the circuit. From there, a 345-day gap lands directly on April 13th, 2022, the 3.5-day Northern Hemisphere spring Vesica piscis. 345 is Moshi in Hebrew gematria. El Shaddai carries the identical value. Moses stood as the one sanctioned mediator between the people and a presence too great for unmediated contact to survive. The same role a dielectric plays between two charged plates, permitting proximity without permitting collapse. The number itself is built from the 3-4-5 right triangle, the oldest stable geometric form. Its defining feature, a 90-degree angle, two lines meeting at a break rather than at a straight collision course. This is the Euclid gap, the buffer holding anode and cathode at the exact distance required for the charge to build rather than discharge too early. April 13th, 2022 is the second VAV. Two biological vessels from below rising up to meet the field. Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces formed a retroreflective lens. The energy from the wave descending on September 6, 2017 is returned straight back to source along the same coordinate. What the fish swallowed on the way down surfaces here. The 8th day out of time becomes the 6th holy day. Isis's refashioned piece inserted at this exact return. The asymmetrical pressure that begins turning the black hole inhalation towards the white hole exhalation. From here, the charge builds, closed and gathering for 4 years. Neptune held the memory of the September 6, 2017 sky, and the two biological vessels rising on this date echoed the same frequency, reconnecting the fallen realm to the exact point the light descended from, with 0 lambda decay lost between the two coordinates. Mars in Aquarius. Revelation 13:11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. A second beast coming up out of the earth, 2 horns like a lamb, the Vesica geometry of the dual witness, anchored into the carbon vessel of Earth. Zillah, the shadow, Lamech's second wife, the cathode, completes what Eta began. Eta, the anode, opened the circuit at the first VAV, a plate holding potential with nothing yet to discharge into. Zillah, the cathode, is the second plate, rising to close the gap between them. A capacitor requires 2 plates. A capacitor requires 2 plates and a potential difference between them before the current can flow. Destructive interference requires 2 waves meeting exactly out of phase. One wave alone cancels nothing. Eta opened the circuit 5 years earlier. One polarity charged and waiting. A single plate holding potential with nowhere to go. Zillah is that waiting resolved. The second polarity arriving to complete what one alone never could. This is the same law that will govern the meeting of the 9 of the light body of man and the 9 of the beast at the White Hole Inversion. 2 full charges required, never one alone. On April 13th, 2022, the circuit closed. The Christ event is a dual witness chiral mirror, completing the circuit between God and man. The lowercase lambda descended in 2017, the kinetic wave given. The uppercase lambda rises here on April 13th, 2022. The same frequency returning to source, carried back through the 2 olive trees, the 2 candlesticks, Zechariah's own image of the witnesses. The macro breath and spark of source grounds through 2 vessels, an anode and a cathode. Both are required, as every capacitor and every completed discharge requires 2 plates. The Ark of the Covenant's own body measures 5.5 cubits, 2.5 in length, a cubit and a half in breadth, a cubit and a half in height. Exodus 25:10, and they shall make an ark of shittim wood, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. One vessel, one fixed measure. That single measure is the standard. Each witness builds its own charge independently until it matches the ark's own 5.5. Not half of it, the full measure, reached twice. The anode from September 6th, 2017, the cathode from April 13th, 2022. 2 separate charges, each equal to the same one number. A second, different ark carries the pairing itself, Genesis 16:15. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make of it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. Noah's ark is the spatial container, the vessel built to hold 2 of every kind safely through the crossing. The Ark of the Covenant is the ignition switch, the mercy seat, the spark gap that fires the discharge. 2 arks, 2 different jobs. One holds the pairs, one measures the charge each pair must reach. 2 charges, each built to the Ark of the Covenant's own measure, 5.5 and 5.5, converge as the dual witness capacitor, totaling 11. At the tropical gap, the 2 witnesses hold that full charge, the complete potential of source anchored in the field. Genesis 7:9. There went in 2 and 2 unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female. The Hebrew reads Shenayim, Shenayim, 2, 2. The word for 2 spoken twice rather than once. The doubling itself carries the meaning. The same pattern behind phrases like yom, yom, and day by day. Nothing enters alone. Each single unit already carries its pair inside the word that names it. The anode and cathode enter the same way, 2 by 2. One pairing among the many the ark was built to hold. Quantum entanglement is documented physics. 2 particles that interact become correlated such that measuring one instantly determines the state of the other at any distance with no signal passing between them. The anode, charging through its own 1,260-day trial from 2017, and the cathode, charging through its own 1,260-day trial from 2022, are entangled in the same sense. The anode charges while the cathode charges. The cathode charges while the anode charges. Each is present inside the other's charge, though separated by 5 years in both hemispheres. A spin 1/2 particle does not return to its original state after a single 360-degree turn. It requires a full 720 degrees.